Hi everyone, my name is Joe. This is the second episode of Making Web Service with ASP.NET, and today I'm going to explain or try to explain what is MVC. I'm gonna read through some document that is already published and also show you a very simple program to illustrate or demonstrate how the MVC concept actually work. So let's get started. Okay, so what is MVC? The great document is right here on Microsoft. So let's just run through this document and see what is MVC before we dig in. So there's MVC pattern. The MVC stands for Model View Controller Architecture Pattern. Separates as an application into three main groups of components. Okay, so this pattern helps to achieve separation of concerns. There's a link here. Using this pattern, user requests are routed to a controller, which is responsible for working with the model to perform user action and or retrieve result of queries. The controller chooses the view to display to the user and provide it with any model data it requires. So the diagram is here. I'm just going to make this short. So basically, model holds the data model or view models. It's basically where data are hold, and views are, what users see in the view. And controller holds the business logic. So basically, whenever there is a triggers or some sort of action requires, the action is handled by the controllers and then generates a view. And then whatever the view needs to show, it's stored temporarily on model. So I think that's what it says down here. Yeah, responsible to help you scale the application. Yeah, so the complex. So that's basically the big part. The complexity helps to ease the complexity of the program. Difficult update test. Yeah, that's true. And then very important thing to understand here is this responsibility of three things. So what does model do? What does view do? What does controllers do? So let's just read it here because I think it's important here. The model in an MVC application represent the state of the application and any business logic or operation that should be performed by it. Business logic should be encapsulated in the model along with any implementation logic for persisting the state of the application. Strongly typed view typically use view model types designed to contain the data to display on that view. Yeah, so there's a view model. The controller creates and populates these view model instance from the model. Right. And then view responsibilities. Views are responsible for presenting content through the user interface, like website. They use Razor View engines to embedded .NET code in HTML markup. There should be a minimum logic within View, and any logic in them should relate to presenting content. If you find that needs to perform a great deal of logic in View files in order to display data from a complex model, consider using a View component, View model, or View templates, or simply the View. So what it says is basically you can break down the views here if you're going to do something very complex. For now, let's just say the view is responsible for letting user view, like it says. And controller responsibilities. Controls are the components that handles user interactions, work with the model, ultimately select the view or render. In MVC application, the view only display information. The controller handles and responds to user input and reaction. In the MVC patterns, the controller is the initial entry point and is responsible for selecting which model type to work with and which view to render. Hence its name, it controls how the app responds to the given request. That makes sense. All right, so usually these notes are important. Controllers shouldn't be overly complicated by too many responsibilities. To keep controller logic from becoming overly complex, push business push business logic out of the controller and into the domain model. We'll talk about that later. If you find that your controller actions require performance the same kind of action, moves these community actions into filters. We'll talk about filters later too. ASP.NET Core MVC. The ASP.NET Core MVC framework is a lightweight, open source, highly testable presentation framework optimized for use of ASP.NET Core, which is what we're going to use today. ASP.NET Core MVC provides a patterns-based way to build a dynamic website that enables clean separation of concerns. It gives you full control over markup, supports TDD-friendly development, and use the latest web standards. Okay, that's correct. And then let's go for routing. ASP.NET Core routing popular. So we don't talk about the routing for now. So I think up to here you understand what the MVC, what's it called, the framework is. So basically separating into model, control, and view to keep everything clean and simple. And you see that when you start to work with these MVC structures along the way. So I think it's been explained now. So let's just take a look at the how it works on the code. So I'm just gonna launch the go back to the Visual Studio here, and you can see that on template that we just launched, there is a views and models and controller here. And what it does is it has home controllers. So if you click on home controllers, you can see that there's a iActionResult index, which is the default method that it's called within this controllers. So what it does is just returns a view. And if you go to the views, there is a home index, which is these two are working together. So it doesn't inherit any models here. So it doesn't have view models here, but I'll add that later. So basically when home controller, what this home controller doing is just simply returning the view of index. So when home controller gets a request at the index, then what it does is just returning a view. That's how it works. So there's no model here. Right now, what we have here is just the area view models. So what we can do is, first of all, we can create models. I just like to add a new folder here to just say views, so that I can put the view models in here. What I'm going to do is add a class here called home index view model. What I'd like to do actually is a home view models, and then call that class, and then I'm just gonna make a new class here, home public class home index view model. Okay. Oops. Nope. Sorry. It's like that. Okay, and I'm just gonna have nothing in it now, just for now. And then I'm gonna go back to the home controller, and then what I'm gonna do is create the new view like this. All right, and then should give you the reference here, and then pass the view. So what this does is when there is a request of calling a home controller index, what I did is to create the new view models and then pass it to the view. So I'm just passing it. So now I need to go back to the view and be able to receive it. So what it does, what I do is I go model and then home index view model. Okay, and is that going to work? Okay, that's going to hold. Well, it doesn't hold. Okay, it doesn't hold because I basically need to make a reference to where that model is. So I should say using backlog and dot was it, where's the models here, dot models models. Does it not work? models views. Okay, so now, well, I could actually like do it like this too if I want, but I just don't like to make it long, so I just separate it and just call it using. So this way, now everything's passed. So I'm just going to show you how you can pass a data through view models. So let's say, public string greeting. And go back to controller, and you can say, now you can see greeting and how everyone, well, hello. Actually, let's just say good morning. And that's it. And then what we can do is go here, and instead of saying welcome, let's just say greeting, and see how it works. So I'm just going to launch the project here and see how it works here. This should launch the, let's see, good morning. So that's how it works for now. So let's do something that is a little bit more interesting. Let's add a new controllers and set the route so that the URL can be modified and request to the controller can be modified through the URL pass.